Rodfather 916 for another episode of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Season 2, Episode 11, Old Testaments and Revelations. Jen has been arrested. She's been accused of wire fraud and money laundering. The operative word is accused. She hasn't been convicted. There hasn't been a court time set. And you would think during these times of trouble that your friends would be right behind you, because after all, this is what you know. Yes, you're surprised, like you didn't see this coming. You know, this is not the person that you knew, but you would think you want to wait until things settle down and then reevaluate the friendship. But Jen's besties don't see it that way. The news that they've heard is good enough for them, particularly Meredith. How could she be friends with somebody who defrauded old people? Lisa is less descriptive, but Lisa's also her bestie on the show. These are her two besties who have jumped off the Jen ship before anybody knows anything about anything. Loyalty is important to me. It's one of the things. I think it's that my being the Aries is like, if they've got your back, stay there. Wait until the dust settles. Now, Mary and Jen never been friends. They've been frenemies. They don't like each other. They don't have nothing in common other than they are two minorities and they're both married to black men. So it's not surprising when Mary says, well, you know what? I'm not surprised. She ain't had no promise. I saw a scandal coming. I felt it in her big eyes. I felt it. Next. But the middle one, the new one, Jenny, this is unsettling. She's a new one in the group. Y'all seem to be tight. I'm trying to fit in here. But where's the loyalty? Where's loyalty coming from? In her confessional, she thought they were beating up on her before they knew the facts. Facts. The new one is not feeling good. I wouldn't either. Like, okay, what did I sign up for? They need people in New York, Atlanta. I'm an Asian woman. I could spice up Atlanta. She could too. So we see Jen talking to her lawyer. It's been all traumatic. She's talking to her attorney about how when she got the phone call on the bus, and it was when she looked at her phone, that was her husband's telephone number, but it wasn't her husband's voice. The voice told her on the phone that she needs to get her son Omar and meet her husband over at the University of Utah hospital. Hold on for a second. She told her attorney in the law office that we saw that, she was pulled over and she didn't know what's going on, but she was just wondering at the same time what was happening with her husband and her son, if they were okay. And that everything was kind of surreal for her, She's thinking about Sharif and she's just sick, and am I going, and, and she talks about she didn't grow up with a lot, and and she worked hard to get where she was, to get to where she is today, and she tried to help many people along the way. And she didn't understand, and the worst part again is about her family and kids, and that part I do believe. In her confessional, dramatic moment coming, warning. what I've been accused from is the absolute opposite of anything I would ever do in my life. If I have any fault, once again, if I have any fault, it's that I'm too giving and I help too many people insane. Jen's got a problem. She shares the same problem with Erica Jane on Beverly Hills Housewives, which is making both of these shows are doing wonderfully well for Bravo. Is that anything they say can be used against them? If it's not perfect, the prosecutor can go, yeah, you said this on TV at this date. But they need the money to pay the lawyer. Speaking of lawyers, there's been a little thing that's come up. Some of you may have seen it, but I'm going to bring you, it has nothing to do with the episode. But you remember her steward, her second assistant, her first assistant, Stewart. He pled guilty last week. Let's talk about it, okay, shall we? Stuart Smith pled guilty for 3 charges brought to him in his role of in a telemarketing scheme that targeted hundreds of elderly people nationwide. He says, I knowingly intentionally discussed and engaged with other individuals to develop a plan or operation to obtain money by false reputation by offering and introducing individuals, many of whom over 50 years of age or older, to provide money in entities that I and others are involved with. Now, does any of these others have the initials JS? Moving on. Scary, huh? Mary. All about Mary. I love Mary. She's quirky, weird, but there's something really, really sad about her. Lisa and Meredith talked about what they had heard about Mary. Lisa said Cameron, who was a preacher at Mary's church, had a close relationship with Mary. Lisa also said that everybody in the church looked up to her and were of awe of her. Meredith asked, well, why didn't you tell me about any of this information before or sooner? Meredith said she wanted to have a conversation with Mary and let her know about these cryptic conversations about her, what's going on. Lisa said she wanted to keep Mary's former preacher, Cameron's confidence. Now this is BS, y'all. Come on. Come on. Lisa did not like the fact that Meredith and Mary are close. Mary's been very helpful and comforting to her son about all the shit that Jen's put her through. Now, I want to revisit Meredith for a few seconds and say I didn't see Meredith coming. Lisa, I can read. Meredith, I didn't see coming. Meredith has been pissed at Jen for some time. We saw the video of Jen's friend stealing something out of her store. We saw that last week. And Meredith is understandably pissed because, why would you bring someone like that into my store where they would steal from me? The problem is Meredith didn't do anything about it. She didn't talk to Jen and say, hey, this really bothers me more than I said, and she can't blame the Botox. Come on now. Meanwhile, we learn that she's hired a private investigator to check out Jen. Because Jen on social media is talking about her son, talking about his sexuality when he's not clear about his sexuality, and she's just being a mama's bear. So what I've learned, what I gather from all of that is you've been pissed at Jen a long time. So for you to jump Jen ship, this is just a reason. You were already off her shift. This is just the reason. But I just got the impression that you were still friends. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Meanwhile, back to Mary. Mary is still pissed at Whitney. Whitney's still hurt. You know, Whitney may be the youngest by at least 10 years of everybody there, at least 10 years or more, but she's smart. Don't get it twisted. Don't underestimate, even with that voice, don't underestimate Whitney. Mary tried to make a fool of her because she didn't return a phone call and wanted her to dress up as a hooker. It backfired, didn't work. Whitney is pissed. Whitney was a friend when nobody else was, stood by her when nobody else did. And she was hurt when when Mary said, listen, you ain't never been my friend. That's what that's about. And Meredith caught it and tried to put the two together, but Mary wasn't hearing it. And, Whitney in her confessional says, look, Mary don't give a fuck about me. Meanwhile, in Mary's confessional, she's thinking that Whitney's too drunk and probably won't remember anything anyway. It's a dangerous game, Mary. She's hurt. So being hurt, she's a little salty. And, and that happens as a human being. You hurt my feelings, so I may just accidentally talk about your ass. And Whitney did. She told other housewives there's been a lot of talk about Mary, and that Whitney has protected her. She said Mary's conversation believes that she's God. Heather asked if they were worshiping her, and Whitney says yes. Meredith then shared a conversation with Mary that she had early in the day, that she had confronted her about the cryptip rumors that she heard about the church. And Mary told her, listen, it wasn't unusual for people, to say negative things about a religion. True. Lisa told the women that her friend Cameron had extreme religious trauma. I tell you, that's Lisa all day long. Being a member of the church and was no longer a member. Whitney asked Lisa, what did Cameron know? But Lisa didn't share any information. People have to be able to trust me with sharing things. Meredith said, listen, and all the women were just with Meredith. I am so sick and tired of hearing that cryptic accusation. And Meredith wanted a concrete example of something Mary did. Up against the wall, Mary said he mortgaged his house and gave the church $300,000. Mary, that wasn't planned. She won't be able to sick. She won't be able to go to eat fast food. She's going to be sick. That wasn't intended to come out. That was a Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I want to tell you, viewership of this video in Salt Lake is growing every week, and that's by you on YouTube and other videos, and I really appreciate it. It's a slow climb, but I appreciate your climbing with me. Once again, if you have any comments, you want to share this, it seems like that's happening, I greatly appreciate it. So this is a Rod Father, truly wishing you love, joy, and happiness. Please be well. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on watching. Yes, I'm weird. Somebody says, you're kind of weird. You make these funny faces. That's what I do. Bye.